Hello everyone, good afternoon. Hopefully you can hear me. I know I have the less than, ultimately the worst position of going last, should I say. But hopefully you'll all stick around for that $100 raffle and for some great conversation later on today. So miigwech, thank you first of all to the host nation, Enoch Cree Nation. It's truly an honor and privilege to be here today to speak on Treaty 6 territory. So I really appreciate the wonderful introduction there. I'm here today to talk a little bit about nation building advisory, but really about three things. I wanted to first start by touching on our reconciliation action plan. We'll then talk a little bit about our nation building advisory practice and specifically unpack a bit about our health services specifically, as that's the topic we're here talking about today. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about R8dius, which is a new technology venture that Deloitte is launching this week. So, without further ado, technology, there we are. First though, not everyone knows about Deloitte, so I'll just spend a moment talking about who we are and what we do. We are not just an accounting firm. Many of you may know of us for our accounting services, but we do a lot more than that. We provide audit, consulting, risk management, tax, and legal services across Canada and around the world. But today I want to focus on our consulting practice, nation building advisory, and starting with our reconciliation action plan. So why talk about this? This really answers the why we are here today. So in 2019, our firm responded to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action 92, and we decided to do something about it. So we established this strategy, which is sort of shown on the slide here. We have four key pillars across our strategy. The first one is really around inclusion. And in the last calendar year, we've published 4 key reports with the Canadian Roots Exchange, elevating Indigenous youth voices on a number of key policy topics. As well, within our economic empowerment pillar, in the last calendar year, we committed 5% of our spend on Indigenous suppliers across the firm. So we have a team that actively manages our Indigenous procurement and supplier portal, and we are really making strides to engage and support those Indigenous businesses that we work with. Underneath our employment pillar, since 2017, we've supported over 100 Indigenous youth on their journeys and their educational journeys, should I say, helping to fund their educational career paths. And lastly, on the education piece, it's really critical as we consider the work we're doing that we train and educate our staff on why reconciliation is important. So we offer 4 seasons of reconciliation training. It's mandatory for all of our staff across our country, and we also share that with our clients too. We really see as a part of our mission is to try and educate our staff and on how to work differently and the importance of reconciliation and really all the work that we do. We're at a very interesting age where really it doesn't matter what part of the business you're in and what sector of work, there's typically, it's nice to see that dialogue and conversation around Indigenous participation is truly in all aspects of our work. So that's just a little bit about our reconciliation action plan, and that is our firm's internal strategy. But what I really want to talk about today is our external market-facing strategy. So building on this, these internal ambitions and ways we're trying to mobilize around reconciliation, we've spent the last few years thinking, what are the best way, how do we take what Deloitte does and truly deliver services in a meaningful, impactful way to First Nation, Métis, and Inuit clients. So the way we thought to do this is by first determining that this needs to be an Indigenous-led initiative. So I am an ally, but I work on a team with Indigenous leaders, Nation Building Advisory is led by Indigenous leaders, primarily based in Western Canada to this point, but our team is growing and we are going to expand and continue to hire more and more leaders. But critically, the team who has been working to build the strategy have come up with these 3 pillars. So I'll quickly touch on them and give some examples as to the type of work we're doing. The first pillar is around jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is really about supporting nations on their journey to sovereignty. We've done a number of really interesting projects recently where we're supporting chiefs and councils of a variety of nations to reconcile some of the traditional ways and customs and ways of making decisions with Western customs and practices. So working together and collaboratively to co-design and really seeing how we can improve decision-making and ways of working so that administrations and their development corporations can all function more effectively. So a couple recent examples is work that we've done with both Chippewas of the Thames First Nation in Ontario, as well as Tsuut'ina Nation here in Alberta. And both nations have great ambitions to grow economic prosperity for this generation and future generations. And we're trying to help them to make better, more effective decisions now and for the future. Underneath the land pillar, this is all about how can we partner with communities to make sustainable decisions about their land and to grow their wealth for future generations. So a lot of the work we're doing within this pillar is related to economic development strategy, as well feasibility studies for new commercial enterprises, and as well land use strategy and supporting strategies and business planning for additions to reserve. This is an emerging area, and a couple projects we've delivered in the last few years. One was with Frog Lake First Nation, where we supported with some financial advisory and worked collaboratively with the community to develop a community comprehensive plan. As well, we worked with Cold Lake First Nation to do a feasibility study for a potential new event center, which would grow, help be a cultural center for the community, but also to grow revenue and create economic opportunity. Underneath the third pillar, and this is where I'm going to talk a little bit more, this is our third pillar is effectively called community needs, and it's intentionally very broad, but really this is about the basic and essential services that are needed by a community. So that includes things like infrastructure and healthcare. A couple recent examples of work that we're doing here. We're working currently with Fort McKay First Nation on a number of things. One is a 10-year plan, and as well doing some advisory on their education, helping to develop new programming and services related to that. As well, and the segue into a bit more related to healthcare is the work we're doing with Little Red River Cree Nation. We're actually collaborating with our partner TELUS here, and we're helping to support and provide critical capability and capacity to implement a community health record solution there. So, of course, aspects of healthcare exist across all these areas. Jurisdiction over healthcare is key, but you can see there's a tremendous amount of work to be done, and we're trying to focus on areas where we think we can make the most impact based off of the capability and the team that we have here at Deloitte today. As well, this is very much built in reaction to our understanding of the needs of community and what the leaders on my team are aware of from their time working and growing up in community. So just to focus a little bit more on our healthcare services. Deloitte, of course, has a very well-established life sciences and healthcare practice. But over the last year or two, we've been working really to determine what are the community needs within healthcare and where can we start to lean in as a company. So there's 4 sort of pillars, as we like to do. We like to put things in boxes to simplify them, but one of the first big area at the top left is strategic planning. And this is really where I would like to think Deloitte has a great position and a strength within the marketplace to bring together our ecosystem, our partners at all levels of government and private sector to help come up with some creative solutions. So there's a lot of things we do within strategic planning, but when it comes to serving and working with First Nation, Métis, and Inuit clients, this is where we need to understand the goals and priorities of the community, specifically around healthcare, but then also work with them to understand what are the leading ideas and new tools and technologies that you want to bring in to advance your goals. The pillar related to capability and capacity building, this is the one I just mentioned. Some of the work that I'm doing is related to this, and that's providing what I would call sort of temporary capacity, short-term capacity to achieve a project aim or ambition. There's also, of course, longer-term solutions we're really trying to think of through training, design, and setup of new ventures or programs. Like how can we build capability and capacity skills within community and let them stay there and not just be a temporary solution. At the bottom right here, health systems reconciliation. I think this is an area that does not get enough attention and focus. This is really about working to advance cultural safety and anti-Indigenous racism. Certainly not something maybe, that is easily addressed. I think this is a thread that has to work its way through all of our work, and this comes back to the education and training of our staff and the way we show up and deliver our work in a culturally safe and meaningful way. But also, this is potentially an area we can work to address through strategy, thinking through how can we try to change and influence culture at a system scale, at a larger scale. So not necessarily directly related to a lot of the community work we're doing, but currently, should I say, but certainly an area we're very keen to continue to explore. Last but certainly not least, digital health and data. We've been talking about this all day. We do a lot of this at firm and at large scale, right? Serving large hospitals and public centers, in urban centers, and working with provincial and federal governments. When it comes to working with communities on this topic, I'd say the breadth and scope of this work continues to fascinate and amaze me. What can be scoped as a very simple project often takes on a life of its own, and you're all of a sudden talking about things like power supply and access to generator sheds, or legal or policy changes that haven't been changed yet at the provincial level, which impact your ability for your nurse practitioners to use the technology, right? So there's just so many things on paper. A technology implementation is simple, but actually getting in onto the ground level, understanding policy that exists within community, as well as a lot of these other factors, is something that we're learning a lot about and wanting to become experts in as we continue to support nations through this type of work. There's a lot more on the slide, and I'm happy to talk more about any of this afterwards if there's further questions, but I'm going to move along for now. And won't keep us any longer. I will talk about the final topic of today, and I appreciate this is a bit of a busy slide, but I will do my best here. So R8dius, you're probably wondering, what is R8dius? This is not a Deloitte entity, but a majority Indigenous-owned technology venture. We are launching with one partner as of this week, Kitsaki Management. They're an economic development corporation from Lac La Ronge Indian Band in Saskatchewan. And the R8dius team is actively working to find other nations who want to partner with us. And the key thing with Kitsaki Management is it benefits the community directly. So it's always going to be 51% Indigenous owned, and there are annual dividends that get paid back to community. But you're probably asking, what is this technology company? What are they doing? So what does it do? It's about building capacity through creating talent and building skills and technology within community. So the first couple clients and areas that we're looking to get into support, are supporting the SAP services, SAP, and as well as contact centers. It's certainly because of the scale and size of this work that we're able to partner with a nation and bring on and invest in order to stand up an offering like this. So while these are the initial services, we are planning to branch out and explore service offerings related to ServiceNow, Salesforce, and Workday. At the end of the day, this is about training and upskilling Indigenous talent within community and giving them meaningful career paths through this partnership with Deloitte. Really leveraging the best of what Deloitte brings in terms of orchestration and delivery and at scale, but partnering with a nation to build that capacity. So R8dius is really just one example of how we're using Deloitte's capability and expertise to grow Indigenous talent and to create new careers in technology. As a firm, though, we're going to continue to explore how we can elevate First Nation, Métis, and Inuit communities through the existing ecosystem. If there are partners that we think could use our support and service, we are open to discussion and seeing how we could work together. So if you'd love to come and talk after, please let me know. Lastly, yeah, I think that's it. That's all I really wanted to share today, and I'm really hopeful to see how this conference has grown over the last couple of years, and excited to see where the next few years take us. But thank you for your time today, and if there are any questions, please let me know. Thank you.